And that didn't work out good for him. While he wound up being gone a period of time, they wondered what happened to him. And his father-in-law gave it to somebody else. And Samson wound up and tried to punish them for that. Caught a bunch of foxes, set fire to their tails, and burnt their crops up, and a lot of different things. And finally, in his travel, he finally walked down to Gaza one night. The Philistines tried to kill him, trying to get rid of him. What had happened with Samson was, if you remember, finally after he burned all the fields, the people come off down there, the people of Judah. They had enough power and control over him. They basically told him this, said, look, you got to do something to that man Samson. You may as well deliver him into our hands. If not, we're going to come and fight you. So they come to Samson and told him about what they had to do. They said, look, because of the Philistines, they're going to come in war against us otherwise. So Samson let them take him back. He said only one thing. He said, y'all won't bother me. Just leave him to the Philistines. They bound his little James and took him to the Philistines. And when he got there, released him. He tore loose all that stuff they had. And I don't know how many might have been there. Evidently thousands of people. Samson reached there and evidently laid on the ground. Must have been the jawbone of an ass. A donkey's jawbone. He picked that thing up. And before it was over with, he killed 1,000 of them. I'm just trying to imagine that. You could give a man a machine gun or a handgun with every 1,000 rounds in it. And if he is surrounded by 1,000 people that wanted to subdue him, he might kill 500. But 1,000 people finally could subdue him and stop him somewhere. But not Samson, because God was with him. God was the one giving him the strength. God was blessing him to do so, deliver him. He was a thorn in the flesh to the side of those Philistines, and he killed 1,000 of them. How many of the jawbone asked? The rest of them just had to run. They could do nothing with him. About the next thing, Samson went on his way and went off down into Gaza one night. And there, flew the harlot. They realized he was there. The Philistines did, and they said, I know what we'll do. We'll close these gates on him. And in the morning, we'll take him, we'll capture him, and we'll put him in prison, kill him, or do something with him. Well, they knew they had him in the city. And at midnight, Samson got up, he leave the city, and came out there to the gate, Brother James, Brother Danny, they were locked. Gates of the city. Those gates of the city, when they opened up, chariots and horses and buggies, people going out through there. It wasn't like a little cyclone fence gate. I don't know how big the thing was, but to my mind, it probably looked about like a lot of the light poles with posts on each side of that thing, and probably those big old timbers that built out looked about like cross ties or something. And it was fixed where even a battering armies couldn't come down and tear the gates down. I mean, they were made strong for safety. Samson come up with those things. Realized he locked up in that little day, and he just reached and got a hold of the gates and pulled the gates and the gate posts all off and carried them out here. He said like about 40 miles up there. I bet the same way to come. How in the world can a man do that? You talk about God and give him all he needs to accomplish the work that he had for him to do. And Samson, he didn't let that stop either. He wound up dealing with Delilah in the Valley of Sorek, I believe it's called. And they hadn't been there long, and the Philistines come to her and said, what you need to do is try to somehow needle him to find out where his strength is, so we can take him captured. And said, if you'll do so, they promised to give her a big price of money, a lot of money if you'll do that. So she got on Samson's case, and I began to ask you a question. First of all, Samson, what would it take? What would it take? What would somebody have to do to you so that when it was done, that you could be subdued? You'd be like any other man. Your strength would be gone. Well, finally he said, look, do you think Samson intended to lose his strength and be taken captive and have his eyes put out and be made sport of and work like an animal? He'd have told you that'll never happen. But here's where she started. Samson, tell me. He finally said, well, if you just take 7 green withs and bind them with them, he said, I'd be like any other man. And after a while, he was asleep. The Bible said there were liars of weight and chambers on either side. If I understand what that meant, the enemies, they would like to take him. They were in the rooms in the other part of the building where he was. And Samson knew that. You're talking about red flags up everywhere he looked. Her asking questions, what would it take to destroy you? What would it take to bring you down and for you to come to nothing? That's about what the devil's looking for in all of our lives. That's what he's looking for in your life. That's what he's looking for to destroy everyone. And oftentimes what he's doing, we let him have his way always. Don't intend to, but that's what happens sometimes. And when he I went to sleep and woke up. She said, Samson, awake. The Philistine be on you. When he woke up, guess what? He was tied with 7 green wheels. Exactly what he told her. Would render him weak like any other man. And the Bible said he rose up and he just pulled that junk off of him like it was a thread of tow over fire. Boy, she come back and you lied to me this time. You don't love me. You tell me the truth. And she finally said, look, if you'd buy me a 7 new rope that nobody's ever been bound with, he said, then I'll be like any other man. Next time he went off to sleep, she called them fellows. They come in, they bound him with 7 new ropes. And whenever she woke him up, she said, it's something the Philistine be on you. He rose up that time, just like all the other times. He just tore all that off and thought they couldn't do anything with him. I'll tell you what I think when I see that, where my mind goes. Keep in mind the kind of man Samson was, big as he was, strong as he was. All the things he'd done. If you were going to try to take a man like that and capture him, probably if men walked up to him, what would they probably try to do? Somebody get him by each arm and probably be at that first thing. And I see Samson just, they did just throw him right through there like they were nothing, you know. And they couldn't do anything with him. Finally she said, Samson, you lied to me twice. I'm going to put this in here. If you love me, you would tell me. That's a old story, if you love me. Well, I bet that's been said a lot of times. So leave that be as it may. He told her this time, he said, my hair. You get a little closer in you. If it's woven and locked, I believe might have said 7 of them or 12. And pin was a pin of the beam. He said, then I'll be like any other man. When he woke the next time, what had happened? Exactly what he told her. His hair was all woven and was locked. But he went away with the pin of the beam, that didn't do anything with it. Boy, she come back and, how can you love me if you won't tell me what it's takes? He lied to me all this time. Well, he said, if my head, said, there's never a razor come on my head. He said, if my head was shaved, he said, I'd be like any other man. And somehow she knew he told her the truth this time. She made arrangements for the Philistines to come, and whenever he went to sleep in her lap, she called for the Philistines. They come in and shaved his head. And when he awoke this time, she woke him up. Samson, the Philistines be upon you. And the Bible said he rose up this time, just like at other times. He shook himself and wished not that God had departed from him. I see him this time, and it's my thoughts about it. No doubt those men coming there to capture him, I see 2 or 3 probably get a hold of each arm, and Samson probably stand there trembling, pull and jerk like he had at other times, casting him around. And now this time, Brother James, all he could do was look, and they had him. He realized he found himself taken. They plucked his eyes out. They put him into prison. They made sport of it. If you'd asked Samson about that, here's what's going to happen, Samson. Here's what the devil's going to do with you before it's over with. Samson told you, no, that won't ever happen to me. He said, I'm going to dabble with this. I'm going to play with it. I'm going to take my chances with it. I can handle it. But see, some things you can't handle that you think you can. There's some things you get involved with. And it's kind of like if I come to the edge of this pulpit and stand here on this edge, it wouldn't matter how far it is to the ground, to the floor. There's a certain amount I can lean over here. When I get ready, I can come back. But Brother James, there's a point. If I go past there, I'm going off of here. It won't matter how deep it is out here. There's a certain point in life and things you can deal with and things you can resist. I'll tell you what, you can go far enough after a while and you can't come back. Your nature won't allow you to come back. The things you got involved with, it's going to the point of no return. You're not going to turn back in. And that's happened to a lot of people that didn't intend for it to happen. Let me just toss this out for you. I've been in families before whenever my daughter had to tell their daddy, you fixing to be daddy, unmarried. And the question is, what in the world did you do that for? I didn't intend to. I didn't intend to. She told the truth. She didn't intend to do that. But the problem got so far there was no coming back. I'm telling you. That's the way it is. The other individual I was going to tell you about, I haven't been preaching a long time. I'll try to hurry and get through this, but get to the point of it. There was a man showed up at church one day. I hadn't seen him myself. I heard, I didn't know who he was. The family had told me about another boy in the family, good family. I was pastor. They were good folks. They were good to me. They were not only good to me, they were good people. This boy showed up one day. And they introduced him, and it was their son, the son of the family. I don't leave all the names out. He come to church a few times, and finally one day he said, Brother Branham, get a chance that I want to talk with you. I said, that's well and good. We made arrangements, set a time, and I think I went off down, met him, seemed like at a hamburger joint or something, I don't remember where, but stood there and listened. I didn't know what all he had wanted to tell me. And when he got there, he just basically wanted to tell me the story of his life with a question at the end of it. He's saved when he's about 15, started leading singing in church, leading prayer, wound up teaching a real small children's class by the time he was 17 or 18. And that was about the time that this thing kind of made a turn. He quit school in the 10th grade. He'd gotten working as a carpenter's helper when he was just a young man. Evidently must have been real good at what he was doing. They had made him a superintendent at the time he was in about the 11th grade and running a job and getting good pay for it. And things just going his way. And by the time he was 17 or 18, he had a house bought and met Miss Wright, and they'd gotten married. And things just moving along. And he told me, he said, Brother Broom, he said, God was blessing me. He said, I had never tried drugs. I'd never been involved in alcohol. He said, I'd never been in the dance halls. He said, I'd never been in the limelights of the world. I'd always wondered what it's about. And he said, there's no doubt in my mind, God wanted me to preach. And I said, God, I've never tried all this other stuff out here. I at least want to see what it's like. And he told me, he said, I told God, I'm going to be gone for 6 weeks. I'm going to try it. And when it's over with, he said, I know I have to go back and make my apologies to the church. He said, after that, I'm going to give my life to you for what you want me to do. He said, I began to dabble. And he said, next thing you know, I got in the bar room and dance halls. He said, the 6 weeks passed. He said, I lost the 6 weeks. He said, I don't know where that ended. He said, I got involved in more and more stuff and booking all the gowns and different things. And he said, I come in from work one day. And my wife was packing up. And I said, what in the world are you doing? She said, I've handled all this I can stand. I'm leaving. He said, don't let the door hit you in the back. He said, thought, boy, there's plenty more women if you don't stay. He said, there was something told me when that happened. He said, you sorry, low-down rascal. Said, you've made the biggest mistake you ever made. He said, too bold and too much in pride. He said, what it all go on? And sure enough, he said, not too awful long, you met somebody that shacked up a while and finally married. And he said, boy, that woman was mean. And I won't go through all the details of what he finally said. And they all split up. And by that time, he's in drugs and in trouble with the law, and you just name it. Met some other woman, and they married. He said that person was a saint upside that last one. And he said actually, he said she didn't leave. He said I left to keep from getting killed. And wound up, and he'd been gone for this period of time, and he'd just come back from Florida. He'd been off down in Miami and running from the law and trying to stay out of trouble to maybe kind of escape or whatever. Then I think got in trouble down there. Decided to come home, hitchhiked back home. And that's when he come to church and I received him the first time. He told me the story of his life. Now his question is, well, how can I go back and get to where I used to be? Get my life back to that. You can't. You can't. See, throughout three marriages all the way down the way and about 3 divorces, you can't go back there and start preaching, can you? You can't undo that. Made a mess out of it. And the next thing he said, what I'd give if I could just go back and bring it back to where it is and have some degree of peace with it. He said, if I can't even do that, if I could just come to a place I could settle down and be where my dad and mama are, just live a peaceful life. Listen, let me tell you, he was 27 at the time we were talking. 17 back there when he said, I'm gone for 6 weeks. Now 10 years has gone by. It's such a mess, there's no way to carry it back. He got caught up. It wasn't even rocky. It was worse than that, Brother Alvin. It was a storm of the devil. The things the world had offered him and the things he got involved in. He got so caught up in it, so wrapped up in it, he forgot everything he ever thought about doing, where he was. Lost sight of it. The end result, his life was totally destroyed. And I know he put forth some effort, trying to get some things kind of straightened back out. And he asked me about what he could do. And I told him, I said, the best thing you can do is just get things, repent, go back to the Lord, get things straightened out as much as you can. Have by the Lord's help, try to move on and make the best out of what you've got left. And hopefully the Lord just bless you and help you with it. And it looked like he tried for a while, and he gave all that back up, went right back in the same old route. I don't know where he is now. I haven't heard from him in years. I don't know where he's still alive or what. But he didn't make it. He went a lot further than ever he intended to go. When you go back and think about that, that's not just a story that's told somewhere. That's a man. That's his life. It's happened to many, many persons, hasn't it? Tonight it could happen with you. It could happen with me. It's happening all the time. And if the devil could ever get you caught up in it, he can paint a very pretty picture, a real attractive picture, and make it really very tempting in a lot of different ways. I couldn't even stand here and tell you all the ways. But the next thing is you get caught up in it. I'm going to tell you what you can run into. You rocked it. And here's what happened to Paul and him. They said, we're just going to go from this little city to right over there. We're going to win her. And then we'll head on to Rome. And boy, they got off out there and hadn't gone far. They got caught up in a storm. And before that storm was over with, they were just wishing for day and hoping somehow this thing could be stopped. And it finally did. It was in shipwreck. God still blessed them and took care of them. But the Bible said they wished for day. They wished somehow this thing could finally get over with. It's a sad story when you go look at it. Yet God took Paul right on. He did his work. But the thing about it is, we went through some storms. They didn't have to go through. Only by God's grace and God's grace. I'll tell you what, probably, Brother James, probably had Paul not been on that ship, they probably all got sunk out there and died. It wasn't Paul's time. That wasn't where God was going to let his in. Might be the only reason that God spared him. Believe that be as it may. The point I just want to try to get on our mind tonight is be careful where you go and be careful how you start off. Be careful how this thing leads you. You get caught up out there when you leave God out of the picture. Caught up in the things of the world. Boy, let the devil take control, and I'm going to tell you what, he'll get you involved, and you go a lot further than you ever intended to go, do things you never thought you'd do. Do things you thought, not me, never happened. I'm going to tell you what you don't know. You say, Brother Broom, what about you? I don't know, except by God's grace. Except by God's help. And so we never get so old, we never get so far along, and so wise. But we don't need to stay close to God and have His help. That's all I'm just going to get on our mind tonight. You need to be very careful. Here's what next thing I'm going to try to close with this. And this can't be done. But if it could, the hypothetical, if there was such a thing as going out there interviewing all those people in hell, Brother James, if you could go interview them, and ask them how many of y'all intended to come here, Rick, what the answer would be? None. Every one of us out didn't intend to come here. I was going to do this and that. I was going to do that yonder, and I was going yonder, and I was going to do this. And well, what? Death happened. Or I got caught up in something that I never intended. This was not the way I intended. I'll guarantee you, every one of them. Not too many people ever wasted their life, and their life come to nothing. If you ask about it, was this the way you intended this? And they'll tell you it was not. Tonight, how do you intend yours to be? So, Brother Broom, what about yours? I know one thing, unless I stay close to God and let Him lead, I'll make a mess out of it. There'll come to the end I never expected. There'll come to the end that I don't want. There'll come to the end and be sad. But by God's grace, if I stay with Him and let Him lead and guide, it can all be well. Tonight, I don't know where you are. I don't know where you stand. I don't know what you're facing. But I'll just tell you something. Be careful. When you start leaving God, well, it's not going to be long. The devil's going to take over. And before he gets through, he's going to carry you a lot further than you ever thought he would. Take you further than you intended to go. And I don't know when you get back. Just this man I was telling you about earlier, 10 years. He said 6 weeks when he left. 10 years later, he still hadn't made it. And now it's in such a mess, there's no way to get back to where he wanted to be. The devil took over. All the things the devil had to offer him out in the world destroyed him. Destroyed the good, a lot of good he could have done. I wouldn't say all he could ever do, but as far as I know, he never really did much of it after that I know anything about. I hope he did. I don't know what's ever become of it. We're going to ask for a verse of a song. Give you the opportunity to stand. If you have something on your heart, you feel free to make it known while we stand and sing a verse of a song. If you have something on your heart, you feel free to make that known.